Hey guys, and welcome to the Movie Club Emporium. And this week we're going to be talking about a movie that I have been very curious about since it was announced. Trailers came out, did us a small uh theatrical run, of course, not anywhere near here, unfortunately. It's now available on digital as a movie that I was really excited to talk about, so I was able to sit down and watch it. We're talking about the new film from Jane Schoenbrunn. I Saw the TV Globe. Now, this is their follow up to a movie that their first movie that was on my top 10 the year that it came out. We're All Going to the World's Fair. It was a movie that I really loved and was really kind of different and thought provoking and an interesting kind of found footage movie dealing with a lot of like under the deep levels of stuff, and so I was super excited for this movie. Um, I gotta tell you, this movie did not disappoint me at all. I really liked this movie a lot. Um, this is a movie that I know they've said that it's about their journey into discovering who they were, being part of the trans community. But even and all that is very much kind of on the surface of this movie. But also a lot of stuff in this movie kind of hit me very personally, um, because it deals with these two kids who come together because of this weird TV show, which is like an amalgamation of like Buffy the Vampire Slayer meets the Secret World of Alex Mack meets Are You Afraid of the Dark? The show called The Pink Opaque, and it's just kind of about how they became friends based on this show and their different worlds, and then growing into it, and then things get weird. Movie stars Justice Smith, who I've not to this point really been a fan of. Uh, he was the screaming guy in that one Jurassic World sequel, and he was in Detective Pikachu, which I'm not a Pokemon guy, I did never see. But it's him and Bridget Lundy Payne playing Maddie, and oh my gosh, I just lost his name. And this movie, I feel like again, it's got a lot um to say about coming to grips with who you really are, who you want to be, uh, and being somebody who truly embraces that to somebody who kind of keeps that repressed about them until it's too late. Um, it's a really beautiful movie. Again, it's very movie. You can tell this movie is very personal uh to Jane Schonenbrunn, and um again hit me in a much different way because I was that TV kid. The stuff about being obsessed with this show. Um, for me, movies were my thing. I spent a lot of time in front of a glowing tube television growing up, both alone and found lifelong friends through that. And going through life, and you see you're with Justice Smith's character uh, through several stages and ages of his life, and um, there are a lot of heartbreaking moments that he goes through, whether it's the loss of a parent, the loss of a friend, to a point of the movie, kind of a loss of your dreams. And again, this is a very touching, a very personal movie that hits on a lot of uh things, but also is just fun because we see a lot of this TV show, and again, it feels like all these shows from my childhood. There's even several stars from those shows at the time. Amber Benson, who played Tara on Buffy the Vampire Slayer, shows up as a, a mother in the movie. Um, both Michael Morona and Danny Tamborelli, uh, aka Pete and Pete, play the neighbors of this young boy. It's fun seeing them and stuff, and just the aesthetic of the show that they're watching. You see it definitely feels like that '90s Snick era that I still hold so dear. Even though it's the moment where he talks about going back to the show and finding how as an adult finding it cheesy and kind of tough to watch when as a child it meant everything. Uh, and getting older, I you feel that a lot of how things that were so important and held such meaning really probably don't now as you become older and but also dealing with the things that do still matter and the things that you are the things you gain growing up, the things you lose growing up are a big uh point of this movie. And again, it's all this deep emotional stuff brought out in this little movie about two people who bond over this TV show, and one day one of them is gone. And what happens years later if they come back and tell you that the show wasn't just a show, it was the real world. Maybe you were meant to be somebody else than who you are right now. And dealing with the fear of what if they're wrong, but also what if they're right, and what if I'm not where I should be. It's a lot of heavy stuff like that, man, and I really, really was fascinated by it. I really enjoyed it. Um, again, the movie looks absolutely stunning. Just the use of colors, the use of effects and stuff. Musically, it's if you're into like uh, you know, music kind of like Snail Mail or Phoebe Bridgers, who actually has a song. She's actually in the movie. There's a whole movie they play a whole song, and she's part of this band. Um, it also because it takes place a lot of the times in the '90s. It feels that '90s, uh, not just in like the TV stuff, but just it has that feeling of nostalgia without being overtly like kind of Stranger Things. Look at this, you remember this? Uh, way. Again, I was absolutely blown away by it. Um, Also musically, I'm just bringing it up because you can't find it on Spotify, and I was upset by it. There's a beautiful cover of Smashing Pumpkins Tonight, which is my favorite pumpkin song. Um, Again, I knew that I had loved We're All Going to the World's Fair, so I was excited to see what their second movie was going to be, and I think they absolutely crushed it. I was blown away by how impactful this little movie was to me. Having never dealt with the same situations, the same uh things that are definitely the personal aspects of this movie for this director, but being able to be personally affected by it for different reasons, I think is very amazing. And it'll definitely be in my top movies of the year. I was again, as much as I was excited to see it, I was blown away by how much I was really affected by it. So it's on streaming now. Um, I think if you grew up in this time period, I think maybe this is a movie for you, and I think you should check it out. So I highly highly recommend I Saw the TV Glow. Now, next week, I'm excited because as excited as I was to see this movie, my most anticipated movie of the year is hitting theaters next weekend, and I'm going to do everything in my power to see it. Uh, because if there's one surprise franchise that I absolutely need in my life, it's the Ty West Mia Goth trilogy, and we are getting Maxine. And so hopefully next week, join me here, and we'll be talking about Maxine. But until then, go back and watch an old TV show, man. They call them comfort, warm blanket stuff for a reason. Go back and watch one of those old shows. Um, kind of embrace your childhood a little bit that way. You never know. We're all old, so it's okay to look back on some childhood fun. And until then, I will see you guys next time. Bye.